Welcome to Michigan in Focus, powered by thecentersquare.com. This episode features a piece by Center Square Michigan reporter Scott McClellan headlined, quote, "Expected bill would ban Michigan lawmakers from signing NDAs," end quote. Here's the story. Michigan State Representative Steve Carra, a Republican from Three Rivers, says he will introduce a bill next year aiming to prohibit legislators from signing non-disclosure agreements. The plan follows a Detroit News report revealing that nearly 1 in 5 Michigan lawmakers have signed quote-unquote secrecy pacts, gagging them from sharing their knowledge of taxpayer-funded projects. Carra said in a statement, quote, "Elected officials have a duty to be as open and transparent as possible. Lawmakers should never trade their silence for information about corruption that benefits the politically connected in their communities. Our job is to represent all the voices of our districts," end quote. Carra encourages economic expansion, but says the government picking winners and losers behind closed doors isn't the right solution. Greg Leroy, executive director at Good Jobs First, a national watchdog of state and local economic development subsidies, said lawmakers shouldn't sign NDAs. Leroy said in a phone interview, quote, "The core problem is corporate control of the process. If this is really a public-private partnership, then both parties have to be equals at the table. And you can't do that if the corporations get to hide all the information, including even their identity as the negotiations occur," end quote. Leroy said NDAs gag public officials from telling local taxpayers who the company is, what they are, the number of jobs created, the subsidy included, whether public officials will overspend on the project, and if the subsidies are even necessary. Leroy said, quote, "None of those questions can get raised credibly if the deal is secret," end quote. In the November 7th election, voters in Green Township ousted 5 board members who, quote, "brought in Goshen without letting the community know about it," end quote. The China-linked electric vehicle battery parts plant is estimated to create 2,350 jobs created over 10 years for a taxpayer subsidy of $715 million. Funding includes a $125 million grant for job creation, a 30-year Renaissance zone to Mecosta County valued at $540 million, and a $50 million performance-based grant. Local officials have also signed NDAs about a now-paused $3.5 billion Ford EV plant in Marshall, Michigan, that's promised more than $1.7 billion in subsidies. Still, Ford says it's not confident it can run the Michigan plant competitively. Carra said, quote, "The free market should dictate where companies choose to expand. NDAs in government exist to keep information from the public. Any information lawmakers have access to should be accessible to all Michigan residents, just like tax cuts should be given equally to all businesses, not just special tax exemptions for the rich and connected. These NDAs are yet another result of the government interjecting itself into places it doesn't belong," end quote. Carra says the plan aims to amend state statutes to prevent sitting lawmakers from signing NDAs to ensure all business dealings involving elected officials remain open and transparent. This podcast was made with the assistance of AI technology. Please subscribe, and thanks for listening.
Knowledge is power, and you deserve to know what happens in your state government. That's why the nonprofit Franklin News Foundation is bringing you straight news journalism through the Center Square, reporting on state authorities and publishing stories that show where your money goes and who spends it. By supporting the Center Square, you can track politicians' use of taxpayer money and demand transparency from elected officials. This is how we can equip everyday Americans to hold their government accountable. Become a supporter of Franklin today at franklinnews.org/donate.